Everybody, this is Amy at the Crafty Cottage. I am going to show you how to do the Avid card that I showed you when our first sets came out. I'm going to show you how to use this one with the friends are like seashells. And I have the card, of course. I got everything ready and did not bring the card. Here it is. Ha! Got everything ready and put it over there. Anyway, this is the card we're going to do. Let me put it here so you can see it better. This is the card I'm going to show you how to do. Remember I said it was an Avid card. Has lots of design to it, lots of technique, and we're going to show you how to do this one today. I love this card. Seems super hard, but it's really not. It's super simple. So I'm going to take my ugly mug off the screen, and I'm going to let you watch what I'm going to do. And I'm going to give you a few little tips on how to store your dies in your cases. Let me take me off. There you go. Now we can see, and you can see my big old mess up here. I got all this stuff going on. First, I'm going to show you about your dies. Okay, I've got my case. I have all my stamps. And I'm going to put a magnetic piece in here. And it's got adhesive. A lot of you probably already know this. I mean, you could get the 5x3 magnetic cards from Stampin' Storage. I have used those in the past. And the 5x7 ones, if you're into that, work perfectly to store in your stamp case. The bigger ones that are for the bigger dies, they don't really work well to go inside the case. If they fit in the case, this is what I'm doing. I stopped buying these because they are kind of expensive. This was so much cheaper to do, and I'm not losing anything. So I cut this down. It comes, I believe, in a large sheet. If I remember, I'll link this in the bottom. I got it from Amazon. So you're just going to take the adhesive off, and I'm just going to stick it here in the corner. Makes it permanent to your case, but you'll never lose your dies again. So then the die goes right here, and I have the rest of them right here, and they all fit in here. And you can move this down so that you can actually get everything in there. Because most of our dies come like this, right? So they're still all going to fit in here, and I'm going to have room to spare. So there you go. Now I can get rid of this. Now because I do sell my old retired stuff, I do keep this, but I just tuck it. So I'm going to have all my stamps in there. And I tuck, move these out of the way. I'll take this and just tuck it behind the label. So that way if I need to know how many dies were in this set, it's right back here. You won't see it here, you'll just see the front here. But it's all back there. So then I can just put all my stuff in here and I'm not going to lose my dies. I also keep an envelope full, which I have an envelope full of all of these little extras. They're right here with some stickers that matches this week, and I keep that in my case as well. So that's just a quick, simple little tip for you. Now we're going to get on to making this card. I'm going to try a few little things different with this. This is beautiful. I love this card. So what I'm going to try today is I have the new embossing folder. I have two of them that we're going to use. This is the one that will emboss our seashells and all of that. Can you see that? It's going to give us our seashells, and we'll make all of our seashells pretty from that die cut. Then there's this one. It's the seabed, and I love this. I'm going to try using this as the background and then putting those on top. Before I glue it down, if it's too much, I'll take it out and I'll just use it without. But I thought, why not? Let's try. Can't hurt anything. So what we're going to do, get this out of my way, is I'm going to start by cutting out things. I've already embossed this sheet. If I decide not to use it, I already have another one cut. This is out of the Sand and Sea Designer Series paper. It is 5 1/4 by 4 is what the size is. This is bigger. I just cut what I had. I just embossed what I had left, just to see if it was going to work. So we're going to set those aside. I'm going to set all these die cut pieces aside because we're going to make fresh for you. I got my trusty water here. Got to have my water. And I also have two ways to stamp our stamps. You can either use your big block, your big background block, and lay your stamps on to cut, or you can use your Stamparatus. I will show you how to do that after we get things cut out. I also have some vellum. We're going to cut vellum and emboss the vellum. And that is just 5 1/2 by 4 1/4. I have 5 1/2 by 4 1/4 of Misty Moonlight. And I have a small piece left over from the Sand and Sea DSB that is this sandy, beachy looking, if you want to see this closer. This, and I have rubbed the crushed crumb cake on the top. It just ripped it and rubbed the crumb cake on top. And that's going to be placed at the bottom. So it's going to be like that. So you'll see a little bit of the sand and sea, you know, kind of cool. So let's start. I also have some pearlized paper. This is a little bit longer than you need, and I have some watercolor paper. Both of these should be cut at 5.5 by 4 1/4. Now this you probably don't need to go that big because we're just going to use the seashell elements. So to save paper, you could do 4 by 5 1/4. All right, so let's cut out our embellishments first and get those embossed because we're going to need those to design the front. So I'm going to need my die set. I'm going to leave this right here so you can see it. Oh, and the hostess code is right here. If you're just going to order this month, this is our hostess code. I know the month should almost be over by the time this airs because this has been pre-recorded. All right, now I'm going to just cut and emboss the pearlized and the vellum first. So these two are just going to be cut and embossed. That's it. Just so we'll have pieces first. I'm going to start with the vellum. I'm going to cut it in my big shot. I'm not going to bring it over for you to see because my big shot is big, bulky, and it will ruin the area I have. Now, if I decide to go and get the new one, I can't ever think of the name, Stamp Cotton Emboss, or I don't know what they named it. But anyway, if I decide to get the new big one, it would be able to fit up here and we would see it. But I haven't bought it yet because, you know, I'm just a little one-trick pony show and I don't have enough money for that. And mine works just as good. I mean, I only had mine a few months before they came out with the new one. So this is my second big shot. Still have the other one, so it would be great for doing classes if we could actually do them in person. So I have cut this out for us, and I'm making sure that it all cut out before I completely remove it. And it did. Looks like it did. I see that. Take it off of here. I can put it back if I need to. Now we want to make sure we get all of these little bits down here cut out because that's going to be the biggest part of our embossing folder that we're going to, our vellum piece. So because it didn't all cut out, sometimes you have to go and run it through twice. It's because my boards are getting, my clear boards are getting pretty beat up. I need some new ones. So I'm going to stick this back. Make sure I get it in here correctly. So I'm just going to put it right back in its spot. And I'm going to lay it down and cut it out again. Just to make sure I get what I need. There we go. And it's pretty hard to do. That's why I didn't want to take it out. I may even use some adhesive to keep it down, some washi tape. Washi tape is our friend. I don't ever use it in my cards much anymore, but I do use it for other stuff. Everybody's been saying, bring washi back. My friends Rachel and Brenda would say, we use it all the time. All right, got it involved, got it down there. Well, let's run it back through. And the good thing about doing this is you need to run them at an angle and not do them straight head on when you're doing the cutting because your stuff doesn't like it that way. See, there we go. We got it all cut out now. Got to take this washi off. Oof, done. We got a little piece of washi done. There we go. Got it off. Now I'm going to emboss this. Actually, I think I'm going to cut the other one out first. It'll be easier to cut all of our cuts first. Except the watercolor one. I'm not going to cut that one out first because I'm going to stamp that one as well. So I'm going to cut this one out. There we go. And let's cut the lovely pearlized paper out. This is such beautiful paper. I can't wait to try it with something other than this. I just haven't had a chance yet. With those grandkids of mine, they keep me on my toes and they keep me busy. We spent the day with them yesterday. And the beautiful thing about the pearlized paper is you don't have to worry about which way you put it and whether it got all cut out or not, because it's pearlized on both sides. And we got that one cut out. There we go. I have all these bits and pieces left over, which unfortunately, unless I'm doing some confetti, I'll probably throw these in the trash. See if I can get it out. Okay. There we go. Now let's emboss these. We've got this lovely embossing folder. This one we're going to use as I throw it at you all. Not really throwing at you all. So what you're going to do is just line this up so that it's even with your little pieces. And I want to make sure it's even everywhere and that it's all lined up. If you need to, you could put a piece of washi in this as well. And once you get it down, hold it tight. And then bring it over to your embosser or your big shot or whatever you're using and run it through. And for those of you who are using the old Big Shot, I'm just using my old magnetic plate and a clear plate, which is not clear, but because I've used it so much. But that's how I'm running it through with our folder. And yes, that's not the way you're supposed to do it. That's what I'm using because that's what I have. So for those of you who are like me and didn't buy a new machine, that's what I'm using. Look how pretty that is. And we're going to put some color to this so we have color on our shells. And I'm going to do the same thing with our vellum. Line it up as best as you can. Just like that. Bring it down and put it back in your Big Shot. And one pass with this Big Shot with this one and it works just great. And there's our vellum. How beautiful is that? There we go. We're going to leave those to the side. And now we're going to go ahead and get our watercolor done and set up so that it works out and we have our pretty images. Okay, now let's see here. Sorry about the pause. I was reading some news. Turns out we have a airplane with 46 souls on it, and the engine went out, and it was on its final approach. That's good. All right, I've got my two pieces. Now let's do this watercolor. I want to stamp my images on this piece first before I cut it out. So what we're going to do is get the magnets out of the way so we don't have this happening. Actually, I could just put my die cut over there. Okay, so you could do one of two things. I'm going to show you how to do it on the Stamparatus because I like using this much better, but you can use it on your block the same way. So whichever you choose to do is fine, block or Stamparatus. I like the Stamparatus, so if it doesn't give me good ink coverage, I can go back and I can make it different color or thicker or whatever I need. Put it over here. And don't mind, my poor Stamparatus has been totally loved and abused. We've got some stained inks and all that good stuff. So I'm going to take my watercolor paper. I'm just going to set it in here. I don't like going in the middle. I like it always on the bottom. I tend to try to go over here so it's even, but I'm going to go right here. Or you could go right here in the corner. That way you always know where it is. Always in the corner. You don't have to then worry about where it's going. So what I'm going to do is take my die and I'm going to lay this down. And of course, this is the problem with the magnet. I might move the magnet and lay this down just like this. And this will help me determine where I'm going to put my shells. You could do several things with our lovely stamps here. You could just stamp the color, because we've got color right here. This is just color. You could add color to the shell, and then when you emboss it, it'll be different. Or you could do both. You could add the detail in a darker shade and then add a lighter shade in color. But remember, this is watercolor paper, so whatever you do, you can make the water spread. So I'm actually going to do this in like a brown color, and I'm going to make sure I do all of them. And I'm just going to use the detailed stamp because I can lighten it up a little bit. Or I could do it in the lighter color and then just rub a little brighter color on it. So what you're going to do is you've got this laid down where you want it. And I'm going to put each one of my stamps exactly where they are on this die cut. And I'm sure you've seen other folks. They've already put this out there. They've already done this particular card. They've already done all of this stuff. I'm a little slow on the uptake, and that's okay. I don't mind being slow on the uptake. Oh, this one goes right here. You just have to mix and match your little stamps. And I have the other ones over here. Here. I mean, technically, you could stamp each one in a different color. That'd be up to you. Now, we do have some of these little C things here on this, but I'm not going to use those on this particular card. And then we're just going to take our Stamparatus, make sure we get all of our stamps right where we want them. Now, if you're using your, and you can see my light right here, if you're using this, you could just set this on here and pick it up and know that when you stamp back down, it's going to be right where you wanted it and right on your cardstock, and it will be perfectly placed to cut them out with your die cut. See, it even picked up my die cut. And now I'm double checking, and I had them pretty good, but I'll be able to fix that when I lay the die cut back down to cut it out. And of course, I'm moving everything. So now that we've got it like that, I'm going to put my magnet here in the corner because nothing's really in that corner. We got to do the other corner. So nothing's in that corner. So go over there, and we're going to go just like that. So I've got my colors, and my colors today are going to be Flirty Flamingo, and I'll put the Flirty Flamingo on my pearlized paper, and we're going to do the other ones in Crumb Cake and Soft Suede. So since I'm going to add Crumb Cake, I'm going to stamp in the Soft Suede. Or no, we'll do Crumb Cake, and then we'll add the dark in the Soft Suede. Because the dark is going to be what is brought up on that embosser once we emboss it after we cut it out. So I'm just adding some of my Crumb Cake, making sure I get all of my stamping and stamps colored. And now let me see. That's better. Turn this that way. There you go. We've still got light, but it's not directly on you. Okay, and I'm just going to lay this down. And remember, I have watercolor paper, and it is dry right now. There's no water on this. It's not going to bleed. And see, this is why I like my Stamparatus, because it didn't take a lot of that. So I'm going to come back in here and add some more ink. Now remember, there's not a lot of ink on some of these stamps, but it didn't take very well. It didn't give me those images. So, and now I'm going to come back here, and it didn't get right here on this side. This is the one thing about the Stamparatus. I love it. It is the best tool I have. But sometimes it just doesn't give me what I'm looking for. Got to put a little butt behind it sometimes. There we go. That's much better. Much better. Okay. Now you see how you stamp your images to get them to cut out. I'll move the stamparatus out of the way. We don't need it again. I messed up my lineup, and that's okay. It happens. So this one's pretty good. This one's pretty good. But we're going to run it through the embossing folder to get the detail on this, and then we're going to add some more color to it. So I'm going to run it back through this, but what I'm really looking for with this piece of paper is a lot of this part up here and this one. So it doesn't have to be perfect, and you can still use the others. It just, you can hide the edges that you had to cut off or whatever, and still use those shells. It will still look fabulous. I know I've always said to my customers, sometimes those little mistakes that you make are not mistakes at all. They're just chances to be creative. So we're going to emboss this now. Pull it out now. And look at the detail. Still came out stunningly gorgeous. We're not going to use these, so I'm not too worried about it. Now with this one, I'm going to take a pair of scissors, and I'm going to trim out my shell that I want. And I want this one right here, this big guy. I think it's a conch shell is what they call it. Go almost out. Just a couple more little pieces. And here's the actual card. So if you wanted to save these bits back here on the bottom to show up, you can. That's up to you. And I think I'm going to leave them there. They add a little extra dimension to the back. So we're going to leave it just like that. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is add some color to this. I'm going to take my crumb cake, since we've done the dark suede on there, and we're going to rub crumb cake on there. Let's see, I've got a sponge dauber here. I could use a sponge dauber, which is what I'm going to use. I've got an old one. Or you could use your Stampin' Blends, because it's just going to be very light. And it's just going to give it a little extra dimension. You could even go back in with the darker color if you like. That's up to you. Now I'm only staying with this color on the seashell itself because I want just the seashell to be this color. I don't want these pieces over here. I'm going to show you how to color those with watercolor. Do a little watercolor and even use your, while it's wet, use your Stampin' Right markers. I'm trying to get stuff out of my way so I can sit back and enjoy and craft and not have everything there. Okay, I'm going to set this out of the way so we have room. Now we've got this, and we need to cut out extra pieces of this. I actually may just leave it here. I'm going to lay it on top of my little thing here. I want to see how it's going to look, because I'm going to layer it up. And I almost think it just washes this prettiness in the background out, unless I put some darker blues on that. I don't know. Let's see. Let me get the Marina or the Misty Moonlight. Let's see what this does. Misty Moonlight Stampin' Right marker. I use these markers for all kinds of stuff. And I just want to add a little extra texture or dimension to some of this. We could use the Marina Misty Moonlight. You could use, I'm using Just Jade in the colors. I could use a different color. I'm just trying to lightly go over this to the raised edges. And I'm not trying to go over everything. So you could get a brayer out. You could do this with a brayer. It would be really up to you as to what you did. But this works just as good because I'm not looking to be perfect. And I don't want everything colored. I just want to see what this looks like. I think this will be fabulous to use for another card, even if I don't use it. I'm not sure that I like it. I think it kind of takes away from what I want to do. And so I'm not going to use this. I will save this for another project. And I'm going to come back to my other piece. So we're going to have this one here. I am going to cut some stuff out because we have other things to do here. That's why I said it's an Avid card here. We've got these two, so I'm only going to use a little bit of this, and I'm going to use most of the shells out of here except the big one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my blending brush, and I'm going to take Flirty Flamingo, and I'm going to put some on my blending brush. I love having these blending brushes. They're so wonderful. So we've got one done, and I'm just going to blend this on this just to give it some color. And actually, I did a lot on that one. So just be a little lighter on your next one, unless you want it to be that bold. It's okay. Whatever you like. But I love the shimmer of this paper. It's just beautiful. And you know, all the seed pieces and parts, they are all light and dark, and you know, it's just really beautiful. See, it's just, I don't know how to describe it. It's gorgeous. Okay, I'm looking for another dauber, but I don't have another one sitting here. So I'm going to rub all this out, and I'm going to come back in here and put some really dark pieces of this Flirty Flamingo in here. Just rubbing that on there gently. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing. Gently rubbing it on the tips so that anything raised will get color. You could do this again with a sprayer. I have a brayer over here, but I didn't pull it out. You can do it with a sponge dauber, but since we had pink everywhere else, I wasn't so concerned. And you could do your seashells in other colors. They don't all have to be pink. I'm doing pinks and blues, pinks and browns, and then the greens and the blues in the background. All right, now I'm going to cut out all of my seashells from the pearlized paper. The vellum doesn't get anything on it except we're going to cut out some of that seaweed in the background. So we're just going to cut this out now. And I'm hoping you guys can see everything because I'm not really watching to make sure that you're getting everything. Shame on me. But I'm cutting all of my little seashells out of my pearlized paper. So there's one. Cover up my ink here before I become inky and the rest of my paper is a lot more inky. And this card was fun to do. It was just playing with all the layers. You have so many bits and pieces left over that you can make something else. You could go a little less on this card, a little more. Let's see, we've got this one, that one, and the big one. So let's get this big one out of here too. Although I colored them all. You could use less, more. You could do some from the other. You could have some of your shells really whatever you need. I mean, it's really your thing. I'm actually going to leave some of these on this one. And there goes my other crafty friend, Colette. She's an artist. If you haven't ever visited her page, it's Collegian Art, and she's fabulous. She makes these oysters that are to die for. I mean, if you're a NOLA girl, she's got some stuff. I think that was her commenting. Yes, that was her commenting. Ha, right. Because she asked me how many tools does one artist need, and she only had like 3. And I was like, that's not enough. She's like, you know, right. Okay, I've got this. And I want all of these little pieces out. I want just my seaweed for color. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to cut these out. This is going to be fun to do because I don't want to cut it apart. Just want to cut these shells out of here. And it's okay that there is some color on the bottom of my seaweed. But I want the seaweed out. Or I want the shells out of my seaweed. Oh, my phone just keeps going off today. And we need to take this one out too. I hate to take them all out. They're so pretty in there. And what's going to be hard is, that's why I left the C down there, because you see how it cuts it all off. And this one, it come out. That's why I left the shimmer here like that. So I'm kind of laying my stuff down and seeing what I'm going to get. And then we're going to this one back there. And take this out. That'll go up there. And basically we're recreating the scene, but with bits and pieces from all the others. So now it's time to take some vellum. I think I'm going to take the vellum from down here. Vellum. And we're going to add some vellum up there as top. I'm just going to cut this extra vellum out. Go from here, and we'll just cut it out as we need it and add bits and pieces here and there once we get the other piece colored. All right, and that should be all I need out of the vellum. See how much you've got left for the vellum? You could do a whole lot of stuff with that. You could even put a piece on the inside for the inside of your card. Okay, I know I have a mess right here, and we're trying to figure out what on earth is she doing. Now we're going to get down to some coloring. And find my other pen, because I had just jade up here. It's right here. Now I need a watercolor pencil or a watercolor pen or whatever you have for your watercolor will work. You could use, here's mine. This is an old one. I have this one. You could use a Wink of Stella brush. You could use anything like. I'm going to get all of my vellum and my little pieces that just need color. Let's see, this doesn't need color. That doesn't need color. These are good. Those can go over there. This won't get any color, so we'll color that one. This is going to get color. That'll get color with that. This will get color there. This one doesn't stay, so that one can go over there. Okay. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking my, because this is the pearlized paper, I'm just going to color it with my paper, with my pen. Because this one's going to stay on the card. I kind of want some green showing up. And you see it's got that little line in it because it's got the detail, the raised detail. So there, now we've got some pearlized green that's going to go on this card, which is a little different than what I did before. And I'm going to leave this to the side because this is going to go on here. This one's going to go at the bottom. So these rest of these pieces are watercolor paper. So what we're going to do with those to add some watercolor is we're going to, I'm going to put this down for a second. I'm going to show you a cool way. I want the centers. You notice over here on this card how I did this really deep and the rest of this was just kind of lightly done. So we're going to do something like that. We're just going to color in. I'm going to use this piece right here and we're going to color in deep. I'm going to use the green for this piece and then we'll go into the blue for the other. So I'm just doing the edges, you'll notice. And then I'm going to take my watercolor and I'm going to get it wet, make sure it's wet, and then pull that color out. So it thins it a little bit and it doesn't take forever to dry because there's not tons of color in there. So literally just color in your edges and pull the color out with your water. It colors it, it makes it cool and beautiful. And when you're done, if it's not bright enough, you just go back in with your marker. So we set that aside and let it dry. And I'm going to do the same thing with these. I'm going to do this leaf here is going to be green and the rest of it's going to be blue. And that brown will just kind of blend in. So let's go ahead and do the green because I have it out. And you're going to come in here and you could do this when all of this is still cut together and color it. I just wanted to color what I needed. And I'm just kind of going over the actual stem itself. on this one because I don't want it to be too bold, because I'm going to have a lot of blues mixed in. And here I go with the water. Just making sure your tip is nice and wet. Rub it in, and it turns out really beautiful. And then when you blend in the other colors, it's really like watercolor, like you're right down there in the ocean. See, that's kind of light. Comes out light. See, this one came out light. It's almost dry. So I'm going to come back in here and I'm going to add more. You can just make it as dark as you want at the bottom. And I'm going to add some more water, blend it out, and you could go over this multiple times, doing this just till you get the shade of green that you want. There we go. That's more green. And remember, this is just jade. It's a color that's it's going to be around for a little while. Now I'm going to start with the other ones in the Misty Moonlight. Now I did this really dark down here. So we're going to come in here and make this really, really dark. And notice I'm going the whole way, going over everything, and you know it will blend out. Don't worry. And you can go back in and add as much or as little as you want. We're going to put a little dark down here too, because this is all that same kind of whatever that plant is. We'll blend this out so it looks like a watercolored image. And the same here. Just blend this in. Then you can get up in here in these cracks with this blue, blending it in. So it stays dark at the bottom, carrying that blue on up. Same here. And you're going to get pretty inky, I'm sure. But that's all right. Ah, the stink bugs. I don't know if you guys heard that, but the stink bugs are back. It's warming up. It's going to be 70 degrees today. Oh, boy. All right, there we go. There's some more color in there. Now, I think it needs more blue because if you put this on top, it's still not blue enough for me. So I'm going to put some more blue in there. You could always take your watercolor pen and get it right off of here if you'd like to. You could put your watercolor in a re-ink or put a little drop of re-ink color in if you want to, but if you're like me, I didn't have my re-inker for my Misty Moonlight until just recently, so I wanted to have the color, and this is what I had. So I had to do with what I had, and you know what? It works just as good, and you don't have to use your re-inker all the time. There, we got some more blue in there. See, I'll show you. If you want more blue, you could just do this. Take it right off of here and put some in. And I don't like that way very much because, oops, wrong pen, wrong cover, because I don't know, I just didn't care for it. It didn't allow me to flow it around as easy. So I'm going to go with that, but I am going to add some Just Jade to this, just a little bit, to give it kind of a oceany theme and blend it a little bit. So these tips can have some of that greeny color to it. And then I will blend that in, especially right here. Kind of want to blend the green in there. So it, and then we'll just come in here with our water, blend it in. So you get a little hue of green in that lovely, deep, dark ocean water and seaweed. So I think that came out beautiful. So I'm going to let this dry for a few minutes, but it's going to go on here. And then I'm going to come back in here and I'll put some more of this green. So I want this deep and rich. It's way at the bottom. And we can even put some blue in this side too. I mean, why not? Add a little blue. Keep it dark, nice and dark. And then just come back with your watercolor. And I hoping you can see me. I'm trying to stay where you can see me. And then you just come back in here and blend her out. Cool, huh? And then we have this one, which is just kind of a little different. You could add some blue to this one if you wanted to. I've got the write pen, so I could just take this line that's in here and just go in here and write this little blue pen. Put a blue line in there. Put some more green. That's really up to you. I don't know. You probably couldn't just see what I just did. I added blue in this little line. There's a little line right here. And I added some deep blue, some of that misty moonlight to that shimmer paper. I'm going to just try something. I don't know what's going to happen. We're just going to try it out. And this doesn't work. The blending on the pearlized paper doesn't work out so well. So you don't have to do that. Now with the rest of this, if you don't want this pure white edge, you can take your watercolor pencil or watercolor paper and you can blend out this brown a little bit so that it's not so bold. You could go get your marker as well, and you could do the same thing we just did there with your watercolor pencil. Watercolor pencil with your Stampin' Up markers, whichever you have available to you, you could do that. So I'm going to let these dry for a minute, and then we're going to put it together. I know, crazy, huh? Let me find my linen thread. Should be right here. Yep, linen thread. And we have some of these beautiful opal pearls. And I have my, here's my extra piece of, I'm going to have this. First off, I'm going to decide how far up I want this to go while I let this stuff dry. I'm going to take this and I'm just going to put it on here with some snail, nothing fancy, or glue, whichever works for you. I'm going to use some glue. I'm just going to put a little glue on this piece of paper. And then I'll trim it off once I put it where I want it. I don't want it very high. I just wanted to give it a nice little background. And then we're going to trim it off. Get my little trimmer up here. And this is supposed to be 5 1/4. So we'll go up here. And there we go. 5 1/4. So now we've got the bottom on, our pretty little piece, and it gives it a little sandy feel. And now we're going to come in here. We're going to start layering our pieces down. I was looking for this. I am using the Story Punch, which is still in the catalog. You can see it. There we go. It's kind of hard with all of these lights, and it's our Story Punch. I'm just going to cut this out. Do it over here. Piece of Misty Moonlight. And this is going to be our sentiment. I will stamp this in Versamark and put white embossing powder on it. And I'm going to use the same sentiment. Friends are like seashells. You can collect them. You can collect them along the way. I'll set that to the side because I will probably do that not on this video. I'll do that after and you'll be able to see it later. So let's layer up our card. We've got this piece. We're going to have this piece tucked under. And then we're going to have all of this beautiful piece here. This is where I keep my idea of how it went. This piece over. Just trying to lay it out so I can see how to glue it down, where I need dimensionals. We have this one here. We have this one here. And then we have some other, here's this. this is our extra vellum piece to give it dimension. So I can move this piece down and put the vellum in the back. Layer the vellum on first, high up, and add this right here, and then put all those on top. So that's how our piece is going to go. So I'm going to actually put my vellum on first. Vellum I'm going to put on with some glue dots because it's going to help hold everything else down. And I don't have any little tiny ones left. So we're going to use these bad boys. These are huge, but they're great to be rolled. And I poked them up like this. See if you can see those. They're huge dots. So we're just going to put one back here on this spot right here. It might even give it a little high height to it. It's okay if it does. It won't hurt anything. But you can see here, I'm going to pull this one off too. I've also been known to cut these suckers in half and use them, which I probably should have for this side, but that's okay. We'll make it work. All right, and they stick, let me tell you. They stick like nobody's business. So we're going to put this one up here. There we go. And it's going to have a little sticky to it, but that's fine because that sticky is going to help hold the rest of the stuff. Now we've got our other little piece, which will sit right here. And this is going to go on top of it, right? So let's go ahead and put this piece down, but we want to leave it just so we have some room for the vellum to show up. And again, I'm going to use the glue dots for this, so it'll be quicker for you. You can also use your regular glue, but because I'm doing a video and I don't want it to take forever for you, I'm going to use my glue dots. And I like when I have the smaller glue dots. It's much easier, but I don't have them anymore. I ran out. I need to buy new ones. There we go. And look at this one here. Don't know if you can see where I'm putting them. There we go. So I've got two glue dots there and there. And because they're well connected, because it's the watercolor paper, it's very sturdy and thick. So we're just going to lay this a little to the inside of the other and put it down. And you see how it gives it that, already has that 3D look, which is awesome. And if you feel like you need a piece down here, you could put a piece down there. That doesn't matter. This is going to be the last one I put on because I want it to go in a certain place. So this is going to go here. This one can have a dimensional or not. It's up to you. I'm not because I'm going to use dimensionals on the other pieces because I want this piece to kind of stay flat. So I'm just going to put two glue dots. And let me tell you, this sucker is not going anywhere. There we go. And I'm literally laying it where it should have been connected. Just like that. There. There's that one. And imagine this one here. Like this. So we have these other two pieces. You could trade these out. Like I think I might trade this to be the vellum piece right here. Let's trade it out. Let's see, where's my scissors? Where'd they go? Here you are. There we go. Might just put this vellum piece right here. Because just that way you can still see this, because this is going to cover most everything, and put a vellum piece there. Like that. And then you could still see more. And our sentiment will go here. We'll put dimensionals on this piece. That way we can still see the vellum and we won't see the all this stuff underneath the vellum, like the dots. Because that, nope, conch shell part to be out first. So I'm going to go like this. That one's down. And then this one will also pop up right here. So this is going to go underneath. Let's put that underneath. There we go. This I'll pop right here. Just like that. And I'm going to put glue dots in a ball on this vellum. You won't be able to see it because it's going to be hidden, but I'm going to make this glue dot into a ball. There we go. See, nice little ball. And I'm going to put it right on the end. See that? And I'm going to stick this sucker right here so that you still see him and he's out there. And then this one's going to go right here. You don't even see it. Just see this pretty little shell. And then our sentiment goes right here. So we're going to put this on dimensionals as well. Just like so. There you go. And our sentiment piece goes right here. Yeah, it covers that up. Goes right like that. And now I'm going to do my little my tie. And it is done with linen thread. I'm trying to remember to always do it so you guys can see. I'm very bad about that. And if I'm doing it bad and I'm live, y'all please tell me. So I'm literally just going to wrap this around this bow maker. How many ever times you'd like. Then I'm going to come in here and tie it. And I'm having a hard time because it's so small. So one thing about this linen thread, it's so small. And you know, make sure you tie it in the center. This is using my bow maker my friend Tanya's husband made for me. She was so sweet doing that for me. All right, there we go. So Tanya, if you're watching, thank you. Still using it, still love it. I'm going to cut this off, and then I'm actually going to take the little extra piece. No, it's not big enough. And I'm going to take another piece, and then I'm just going to tie it around so I have two ends. Yeah, I know, it's easier said than done. This piece and this piece. Let me cut this so I don't get confused anymore. It's so easy to do. I'm blonde and it's very natural. And I'm going to tie again so I have a second set of little hanging pieces. And she's trying to figure out which piece of the bow, which piece of it I have to pull because it's all the same thing. That just makes it so much difficult, so much more difficult. All right, it's worse than crocheting. All right, there we go. I think I got it now. Whoop. Now we've got all of our hanging bits, and we can turn it over, and we have all these hanging bits, and we can put a piece of glue dot on the back to hold this bad boy down. I don't know what we got going on here. Get that off. There we go. Looks like it started to fray. So glue dot is in order. Here's my little tool. I love my little pick tool. Put a glue dot on the back of here. Try to keep it on the bow, not your fingers. So I've got this there. This is going to go here. So I'm just going to stick this here, just like that. And then we'll trim up our bow when we're ready. Now it's going to go on a piece of Misty Moonlight as your back. just like this. Now on this one, I have a piece of seafoam green, or the seaside spray behind it, but I didn't really care for that. I'm going to go ahead and put it on the Misty Moonlight. I'm going to use glue for the back of this. I don't think it needs any more dimensionals on it or glue dots. I just think it needs to be glued down to the back of the base. You could do whatever you'd like. You could emboss it again, or, you know. But I think it looks just as stunning, just like this. You could have done it on the Just Jade paper as well, or done a rim of Just Jade, would have looked very nice. There we go. And now all you would need is your sentiment, which will go right here, which I'm just going to stick right here for now. You could change that. You could stamp it in black, however you like. This is a card front. Now, I know most of you who follow me know I will put this on a white, thick white card base, and it will be, it could either be 11 by 4.25, scored at 5.5, or it could be 8.25 by 5.5, scored at 4.25. It's up to you. Now, the last big hurrah is I'm going to put some opals on this. I'm just going to throw in some, like 3 is the number. I usually do 3 to 5, you know, always odds. And I use these opal rounds. These, are they pretty? They look really good. You can even use some on here. And I'm going to stamp my sentiment right there. And I did it in white embossing powder, right like that. So there you go. You have lots of pieces left over. This one is also on, this is the thick white card base. You have lots of pieces left over. You could add seashells on the inside. You could add a piece of vellum. You could color some of your other sentiments, or any more of your little green seaweed or whatever it is. Or you could even just take the seaweed stamp and just stamp some seaweed on the inside with your sentiment on the inside. It's all up to you. I hope you enjoyed today's card. I thought they were lovely. I did not finish the sentiment for you, but you're an avid crafter. You've got this. Y'all have a wonderful day, and I hope to see you next time. Bye, y'all.